trying to raise the camera up here. Let's see how much more I have to stack up. That wasn't even. Girls? Okay, well, I don't know if anyone is going to tune in or not. This is an empty box from Christmas. Just gonna get rid of that. There we go. Hey y'all. Welcome. So it is podcast number 4 of MegoMakes. And let me check my microphone. Oh, I just muted it. So hopefully you can hear me. Hi. Doing another live YouTube podcast because life has been super crazy and I wanted to make sure and get it out to y'all. Welcome. If you've not tuned in before, I'm Megan Young, and this is MegoMakes. That might be backward in the video. I don't know. But this is my podcast, and it is never quiet in my house. And right now, we have some kids in bed. The dogs are starting to get antsy because the baby just got done eating, and so they want to pick up the scraps off the floor. Some kids aren't in bed. So anyway, it could potentially get pretty loud, but hey, that's life, right? Yay. So, this podcast is just about my my life, my kids, homeschooling, things I love. It's going to be a lot of knitting and crochet and making and, things like that in general. So I just touch on a little bit of everything. So welcome. My dogs are getting really noisy. So let's just dive right in. This is the very first podcast of 2019. Yay! Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season. It was very enjoyable for us. Pretty chaotic as well, but very enjoyable. Let's see. The big thing for me, and the reason why I didn't have a podcast last week, bed now. No, he doesn't. Nobody called you. You said. Nope. Stop talking back and get in bed. Yes, it is 7:00. That was my 5-year-old, and she's supposed to be in bed. The past couple weeks with my kids have been bonkers. I don't know if it's weather changing, if it's us not going to co-op and things getting off of schedule. I don't know what it is, but it's been crazy. And my oldest 2 kids have been fighting hardcore all day long. So they were sent to bed directly after dinner. So they might pop in more because nobody ever listens at bedtime and stays in bed ever. But so, it's been a crazy fun time. We had lots of time with family, and that was fantastic. It was a generally nice and relaxed Christmas, but I had a lot of tooth pain and tooth issues, and been waiting for hours to see the dentist, which is fine because that meant I had a lot of knitting time, but I couldn't podcast because of the pain and some swelling and everything, and finally ended up having to get a tooth pulled because it I could have gotten a root canal, but then I would have had to been late March or early April before I got the root canal. And if y'all don't know, I am pregnant with my fifth child. I don't know. Here, let me, because you want to see. I know you want to see. Well, maybe I can't even get off the couch. Okay, let me just tilt the camera. See right there? Hey, that's a baby belly. It's a whole lot of baby belly. That's third trimester baby belly. And yeah, I'll be having our baby boy in March. And so I really, really, really didn't want to have to wait until after he was born or right before to get a root canal. Plus, I was already put on antibiotics for an abscess with it. And I didn't want to believe in, or I don't believe in antibiotics unless absolutely necessary. I'm a big proponent of putting healthy things in your body. I I understand the need to put healthy things in your body. I still do put crap in sometimes, but then I feel like crap afterwards. So I'm just gonna put that out there. Don't call me out for drinking my Dr. Pepper and eating my Three Musketeers bar. I understand that it's bad, but I also know the importance of gut health and putting good things in your body and everything like that. And multiple rounds of antibiotics is not gonna be good for me or for the little buddy that's brewing. So they're supposed to be in bed. Husband's sneaking by to check on the kids. He's so good and so supportive of me. And it was, guys, seriously, 30 seconds before I went live here, it was chaos. The baby was screaming. Everybody was throwing temper tantrums. Oh, it was so much fun. Yay. Okay. So anyway, yeah. Long story short, don't, if you can avoid it, don't get your tooth pulled when you're pregnant because you can't have anything but Tylenol. I'm a little bit bruised here. I don't know if you can really see it in the lighting or not. And I've been pretty swollen. Uh, can't drink hot things very much or anything like that. So my doctor prescribed me naps and ice cream. That's what I was prescribed. Naps, ice cream, and Tylenol. So, which is good. Let's see. Since the last time I had my gestational diabetes sugar test, and I've not heard back from my doctor, not got a call. So I'm assuming that I passed that. Woohoo for balanced blood sugars. That's fantastic. So, as far as I know, everything's on for about the third week of March for me to go in and have baby boy. So yeah, let's just move on because there's not a lot of stuff going on with the kids. We did a very low key Christmas. They didn't get a lot of individual presents. We got a lot of board games to play together as families and things for them to share, Lincoln Logs and Legos and things like that. And they've already broken about good 25% of what they've gotten. So yeah, that's fantastic. I'm determined that I'm going to get moving. My nesting hasn't quite kicked in yet. I don't know when it will kick in. Maybe it won't. This is my fifth child, so kind of like go with the flow now. But I do have a plan to go through each room in my house and declutter, and the kids' room is a big part of that. Okay, I just noticed here that. Okay, I've got to know. You guys have to tell me if this is something that happens with you. So we get these picture frames. This picture frame we've probably had 10 years. I think it was a wedding gift or something like that. And there's a couple like this picture. I'm pointing backwards. I can't do the weatherman thing. Okay, so the two center pictures here, that's really of my family. That's Wes and myself and our two oldest girls when they were really little. And then that picture here is our kids. But these pictures here aren't ours. And we have, I know that there's another picture frame. There's more somewhere that we have around. We're so bad. Okay. We live in a digital society and we don't ever print out our pictures. And so, but it looks nice to have the picture frames on the wall. So there you go. This here, my brother made us all gifts for Christmas. And he made one for me and each of my sisters. And this was really funny because I got Megan. I'm creative. Goofy, original, and a housewife. So that was great. Very nice of him. He wanted to. It was very important to him to give us something and make something for us, and so we all loved that. Some of my sisters were very 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 funny. Married to a hillbilly, broke, things like that. So that was fun. Okay. So some of my favorite things that I got for Christmas, I felt very loved. My husband gave me a gigantic stack of cards for date nights. So I get to put it in a jar and then we randomly just draw it out. Or, I mean, there's lots of different things that we can do it, but it was very, very thoughtful of him. Um, he also got me some slippers because I'm always complaining of my feet being cold, but I also will slip on a wooden floor. So he got me some wonderful old lady slippers that can also go in the wash because apparently my feet sweat and get stinky, or at least that's what he's been telling me lately. Um, let's see what else. Oh, he also got me the Magnolia Story because he heard that was a very good book. So I've been reading this over breakfast in the morning, and it's been very sweet. Their love story so far is just very, very sweet. And I know I'm forgetting things. I got from my sister-in-law and her family something that was on my list. I actually have an Amazon list. It's called Things to Get Megan for when my husband wants to get me something. And this was on there, Vogue Knitting Dictionary. And we have this in our yarn shop, in the yarn shop where I work, the Village Yarnery. And I've looked through it some, but it always seems like every time I sit down to look through it, we have a customer come in, which yay, I get to visit with people and everything. So I just looked through the first couple pages, like at the different fibers and everything. And then I started looking through this and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. No wonder I wanted it. It's wonderful. So I got that, and she also got me and I don't have it out right now because it was, like I said, chaos. But I told her that the girls and I love to have tea time in the afternoons. Mostly influenced by Downton Abbey because I'm a huge Downton Abbey fan and have watched that series several times. But so I said, anything for tea time, would be great. So we're opening presents, and all of the girls are getting these cute little plastic tea sets which the girls love. And then it gets to me, and I open up this gigantic box. Well, I didn't open the box. I unwrapped it, and there was a card on top with pictures. And she got me the most beautiful antique tea set. A full tea set with a couple serving platters and everything, and it's just wonderful. I'm so excited for it. Now I'm planning on when to get a little china cabinet to store it all, so it can be displayed properly, and I'm very, very excited. So the girls and I can have tea, and they won't break my stuff, and it's just wonderful. I love it. I'm not going to get emotional about it, but I love it. So, and then I got lots of other things. I'm forgetting. Anyway, Christmas was very good. I felt very, very loved. For me, Christmas isn't about getting gifts. It's about giving gifts. And last year, I made all of the gifts that we gave. Well, Wes and I made all the gifts that we gave, and it wore me out. So I didn't do that this year. I actually only made 2 gifts to give. And one were the lightning fast mittens from my mom, and another were a pair of socks for someone to give his wife. Anyway, it was nice to not have a whole bunch of Christmas knitting to do. So anyway, let me think what I was going to say next. I have my notes here, but they're not very well written. Oh, so I saw everybody posting their Make 9s for 2019. And going over all of that stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can, what am I going to do? I don't know. I need to figure out how to do that. I'm still trying to figure out Instagram and all of that stuff. And then I watched Christy Glassnit's podcast, her last one of the year, talking about basically her goals for 2019 and how 2018 ended. And I really loved what she had to say. And I was like, yes, that's my personality too, because she was talking about how I think it was her. I've watched so many. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, Christy Glassnitz has a great podcast. So watch it, and maybe it was her, maybe it was somebody else. Anyway, somebody was saying that their personality type, if they actually made a make 9, then they would feel like they had to stick to it. And I'm kind of like that. And I'd overwhelm myself. So I'd much rather just not even worry about it and see what happens. So I have my little notebook here that I went through, and I tried because I wanted to have an idea of what I did in 2018. So I went through all of my records of anything that I could think of. And I ended up, and this was ridiculous for me, with 48 that I could count. There might be more. 48 finished objects for 2018. That's knit and crochet finished objects. And I was like, whoa, I really didn't think that I had finished that many. But I was really, obviously, I had accomplished a lot. So I was, wow, that's awesome. I'm very pumped about that. I also wrote down all of my whips that I currently have going on to end 2018. And I only have 9 of those. So I was also very excited about that. I would have liked to have that number down to 2 or 3, because I really don't want, I don't like to be overwhelmed with a lot of stuff, but I'm going to eventually get that down towards just 2 or 3 at a time so that I can actually maximize my time. And then my plan for 2019, I have certain things that I want to make, but I've got a lot of things, actually, like big things that I want to do for 2019. One is I'm having a baby, so that's pretty huge, like probably top of the list. 2 is starting level 1 of the master knitting program. I want to get through that this year. And then my 3rd is I want to do a whole lot of stash knitting. I have several kits of things. I've got shawls, and I've got some sock kits, and I think I have a couple sweater kits and things like that that I just want to knit through. Also, hopefully within this next week, I will have an actual permanent spot set up to shoot my podcast, but also like a knitting corner. Right now, I've kind of been going all over my house, doing all of these things everywhere. And it drives my husband crazy, but I got to go where there's good lighting. But I gave him the go ahead to put in awesome lighting in our back room. And so I'm going to have my little knitting corner to actually store my stuff, display my yarn. I have a yarn wall to knit back there as long as the TV isn't too loud. Yeah, I'm excited about that. But a big part of that is going to be going through my yarn stash and eliminating any yarn that I either won't use because it's acrylic yarn, or I just didn't like using it, or that it doesn't have a destined project for. And then instead of trying to sell that or anything like that, I am going to search for like a nursing home or retirement home or something like that somewhere, and donate that yarn because I know that I can imagine that when I get old, I will want to have some yarn to play with and work with. But I know that there are always a lot of things that they try to do with the people in those homes to try and help them keep their minds active and things like that. So that's what I want to do with that. So I do have a list of projects that I already have the yarn for in 2019, and then I've already started my finished objects project. So I'm getting better at really keeping my Ravelry page up to date because I love it whenever I can go on Ravelry and search the projects of other people and see what they've done. And so I try and help out other people like that. So I'm working on that, but I'm also going to keep an actual physical copy of what I've done so far. So I do have something that I'll be able to show you today. And as far as that goes. And I might have to have my husband. Wes, will you go get me that thing off the table, please? Because he can walk in the kitchen faster than I can get off the couch. He's got the gate up to keep the baby up, and I will probably trip over that just so you guys can hear me fall. So I have actually one finished object for the year 2019, which I don't consider bad since it's only the 3rd of January. And then I actually had two, like another finished object that I finished right before Christmas that unfortunately I do not have. Thank you. The actual object to show you. They were a pair of Scrooge's house socks for my friend Danny. Her husband asked me if I could whip up a pair of socks by Christmas. This was like a couple days before Christmas. And I had promised them way back earlier in the summer that one day I would make them socks. So I said, real socks? No, I can't do that. Like legitimate, no. But I can make some house socks. And I only thought that I could make them because my wonderful friend Ashley from the Blackberry Ridge had just released her pattern for Scrooge's house socks that were made in worsted weight yarn or something close to it. And so I thought, well, yes, I'm going to make these. So I whipped out 2 socks, started on a Saturday, and I finished it by Sunday afternoon. And so they were off to Danny by Christmas. I made them out of Malabrigo something. I can't remember what it's the worsted yarn, but I can't remember what the color of the yarn was. I will be posting a picture of it to my Ravelry page whenever Danny takes a picture. I didn't want to post a picture anywhere and then ruin the surprise. But I promised Dalton a pair too, and they both love Harry Potter. And so I had chosen colors for Danny that were close to her house. Colors, I think, or that she liked, one or the other. But I know for sure that Dalton is a Gryffindor member. So I have 2. I've got, excuse me, the Malabrigo Sunset in the Rios and the Cereza. So I'm going to somehow figure out how to make stripes in the Scrooge house socks. I haven't started on it yet because they are on a mission trip in Italy. So I've not been pressured to get that done. And I have something else that I've just been loving on my needles. So anyway, yes, finished those. Very excited to get those done. And then my actual first finished object of the year is my Dark Water Anthology toque, is what I called it on my Ravelry project. And it is this little, and it's in a balloon because it's still slightly damp. Look at this little hat. Woo! Isn't that adorable? A little hat. So this came about because I am doing a knit along of my mind is blanking now. I think it's Julie Steinglass. She's Knit Wool Love. Oh goodness. Let me double check because I'm sorry. Yes, it's Knit Love Wool. Is her Instagram and Ravelry name. It's Jen Steingass. I'm horrible with names. I'm so sorry, people. So sorry. Anyway, she released on January 1st her newest sweater, Dark Water. And I'd seen some glimpses of it and wanted to participate in the knit along for it put on by On the Round. You can find her on Rachel. You can find her on Instagram. And she actually, these are the colors that the original sweater was knit in. And so instead of me pulling out all of the skeins of yarn, this is the new acquisition too. This is in On the Round Everyday Light Eclipse. And then the white is the natural. And so this section here is just a bit of the colorwork section for the sweater. And I have been following Yarn on the House. Yes, Yarn on the House on Instagram. And I'd been watching some of her live posts, and she'd been posting about making purposeful or useful swatches. And I thought, well, that's genius, because instead of just making, knitting a swatch in the round by carrying the yarn across the back, which I never get an accurate gauge anyway. So I messaged her and she gave me some information on it. And I also, Tin Can Knits had some information on swatching, and they actually referenced their anthology hat. So that's what I looked up. Tin Can Knits Anthology. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's also in their Strange Brew book, which I have coming to me soonish, as soon as it gets here in the mail. But they give you basically a recipe for the hat in all sorts of different weights of yarn, and then you can take whatever color work you want to use that. So what I did was I used their hat recipe and this colorwork section, and so I was able to, and I measured the gauge before I blocked it. I haven't measured it after because it's not completely dry yet, but I have little balloons, so I blew up a little balloon. So dual purpose, because it's going to be a hat for my little Lauren whenever he gets here, and I'll have a little matching sweater. Sorry, my dog is freaking out for some reason. Anyway, so that was my first finished object. So that was a glimpse of new acquisition or addition to my yarn stash and everything like that. So as long as I am on gauge, I will be casting on for that sweater probably Saturday afternoon, because I have to work at the yarnery tomorrow, and I don't think that that's a good time for me to cast on something new. If last Friday was any indication, we were hopping last Friday. Man, it was super busy. It was great. I got to see so many people and help so many people. And then I'm teaching the class on fixing knitting mistakes on Saturday. So anyway, let's move on to whips. I have a couple that I've been working on over the past couple weeks. I cast on for my Christmas Eve cast on my peppermint mocha Christmas socks, and I decided to knit these 2 at a time, and the yarn is currently all tangled because the last time I had this out and working on it, my baby decided that she wanted to come up and grab the yarn and run and giggle, which was really hard not to laugh at her as well, but it's extra frustrating. So, as you know, I've been trying to perfect my toe up sock game, and I've made it past the toes here. I decided to do 2 at a time because I didn't want to sit and take notes about every single thing that I did in the sock. I wanted to just be continuous and go through and know that when I got to the end, these socks would match. So that's what I'm doing. I am, however, still doing the Portuguese knitting style whenever I do it. And so I know some of you might know what that is or have heard me mention it, and some haven't. So Portuguese knitting is essentially, instead of me picking or throwing or knitting, English or continental or anything like that, I tension my yarn either around my neck or on a pin, and typically it's just one pin. So if I'm just working with one yarn, I'm just going to put it on this pin here and go. I do the pin because I have long hair and I don't like my hair to get in my knitting or anything like that. So 2 at a time, what I'm doing is I actually have a pin for each yarn. And so I'm just putting the yarn, easier said than done. You guys are watching now, so it's hard for me to, goodness gracious. This is really easier than it looks. So doing it like this. So what I do is I pull my magic loop needle out, and my yarn for my right sock, my sock on the right, is tensioned here, and just going to knit across. Don't have to think about anything because this is just knitting. Yeah, this is really no different for me than knitting one sock at a time. Eleanor, you need to go get back in bed. Get out of the toys. When I have, this is also very similar to how I do my stranded color work. Typically, I have a necklace that I use for more than one color. And so I was using that earlier today when I was working on my anthology hat. And I will do more in-depth video of this and how it's done. Not necessarily the 2 at a time sock, which I can get there eventually, but just the Portuguese knitting. So anyway, I just knit across and I'm done. I have my stitch marker here on this first needle so I know what side is the right side, or the beginning of the round rather. And so then what I do is slide the stitch marker over, kind of push this sock over to the side, and then using my second yarn, I would just start knitting across. So the reason why I decided to do the 2 at a time is because I have a goal and I'm doing a knit along, and I've mentioned this before, and I need to actually set up the Ravelry group. I would like to add prizes eventually and things like that. But basically it's a challenge for myself to knit not just a pair of socks a month. Like I'll probably knit, one vanilla pair of socks a month for myself. But I want to knit a new to me pattern every month. And so I have a Knit Pick sock book. I think it's 12 months of socks or something like that. You can look in my previous podcast history or on my Ravelry page and see in my show notes what that book was. I referenced it there. I'm not going to pull it out again. But it has one sock per month, one new sock pattern per month. And so I'm going to try and knit through that. That's my goal. If I come across a pattern that I just really don't like, then I have several new sock patterns that I can choose from the sock vent that they were doing on Instagram and with Ravelry. Lots of great sock patterns there. Tracy Miller has a lot of sock patterns that I got. She had a special on some of her sock patterns. And so anyway, there are lots of options out there. So anyone that wants to participate in that knit along, I encourage you to do so. And the basic knit along is knit a new to you sock pattern each month. So if you've never knit socks and you make yourself a pair of vanilla socks, that's a new to you sock pattern. If in the next month you decide to add ribbing to it, or waffle stitch or whatever, it's a new to you sock pattern. So it's just to kind of break you out of the box and do something new each month. So anyway, I know you probably didn't necessarily want to see me knit all of that, but once you start, I don't like to leave in the middle of the row, and that's what I would have been doing. My stitch marker would have fallen off. So anyway, this is currently living in this cute little bag that my lovely friend and boss from the Village Yarnery, Libby, gave me for Christmas, along with a loaf of delicious cinnamon bread that her daughter and her mother made. And oh my golly, it was just wonderful. So yeah, I'll also, while I'm thinking of it and taking these pins off because they'll stick to my earrings, this is a new Portuguese knitting pin that I have made. People always ask me, well, where do you get knitting pins or what do you do? So I've started making them, and I will probably be putting them in my Etsy shop. I also have a whole bunch of cute little pins, so I can offer not pins, like buttons that I'm turning into Portuguese knitting pins that have cute little knitter sayings on it and things like that. So I can offer pins in multiple price ranges. But that's something that I want to, if I'm going to show you guys how to Portuguese knit and things like that, then I want to provide that. So that was my first whip. I've also been working on, and this had been in hibernation since July, but I broke it out and I have knit quite a bit on it. The only reason why this isn't going even faster is because it is in broken stockinette. So I'll show you what this is. But this is the May, M-A-E, sweater by Andrea Mowry. And this is a very pretty purple color. And you can see that texture on it. This is going to be a very big slouchy sweater. My goal is to have this done by the end of January. And I think I will really be able to get that done. I was rocking and rolling on it and then started in on the other project. And I was like, I can't stop. So this has been a, once you do it, it's a very quick knit. It's just, I haven't been monogamous to it. I haven't knit on it the past few days, but I knit from this stitch marker up over the past week or so. This sweater has a mock seam in it. And I don't know if you can see just that one bit of texture. You probably can't see it in this lighting. But those are all slip stitches, and it has a mock seam front and back and the two sides. You're knitting in the round, and you're doing broken stockinette. So what broken stockinette is, it's regular stockinette, just knit stitches once around, and then you're knitting through the back loop the second time around. And that's the only reason why I'm not just speeding super along, is because the knitting through the back loop takes just a little bit longer. If my needles were a little bit pointier, it might go faster, but these are size 10.5, US 10.5, or 5.5 millimeters. And Gus, hush. And so they just, they're big and bulky, and they just aren't the pointiest. So the knitting through the back loop is a little bit more difficult. But this will fit wonderfully over my pregnant belly if I get it done. I am using Cascade Yarns Cloud, which is 70% merino wool, 30% baby alpaca. So it really does feel like a cloud. And this is color 2114. It's purple. So this is a yarn substitute for what she used actually to make the sweater in the pattern. So I may or may not have extra skeins of this. If I do have extra skeins, they're going to be mittens because they're just wonderful. So this is the other whip. And then my last whip of the week, really, because I started this on December 26th. If you've been following me on Instagram, you know this is the Harvest cardigan. And y'all, this thing is just flying. We are planning on doing a knit along. The Village Yarnery is going to do a Harvest knit along, I believe, beginning in February, and I'm going to be making videos and hopefully all that stuff to get you guys to go through it. And so for those videos, I'm going to be knitting a baby cardigan. I've got this most adorable little green color, and it's going to be fantastic, but I wanted this cardigan for myself. So I am using the Blackberry Ridge Bramble Luxe in the colorway Here Comes the Sun. Ashley dyed this up just for me, whole sweater quantity. And this is 80% merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. I showed you last week, but it's Here Comes the Sun. And this is the most beautiful color. It will work for every season. And you guys, oh my gosh, it is knitting up so quickly. I have about 2 inches left before I get to the ribbed bottom, the hem, and then just the sleeves. So I am, I don't know what percentage, 75% done with this thing. I would be completely done with the ribbed hem and everything like that and ready to start on the sleeves, excuse me, if I had not stopped to do my little anthology hat. But I did. So anyway, I am pumped about this. This will be done by the next podcast. unless I hit unforeseen circumstances. But I'm loving this, and it's such a fast knit. And I am using my new Hedgehog Fibers needles, which are amazing. I haven't quite used them enough to give a complete review on them. But I bought seconds of the Hedgehog Fibers needles, which I can't even see that there's anything wrong, but there's supposed to just be cosmetic issues with it. But I am loving it. Absolutely loving them and this yarn and all of this. So I'm pretty much just going to be living in this sweater, I think, in this cardigan once it's done. So just watch out, y'all, because it's amazing. The pattern is great. The yarn is great. And it's living, well, it's actually pretty much outgrown this awesome little bag here. So let's see. What else did I have? Okay, well, I'm pulling my next thing out to show you. I have been, in case you're curious, I got my husband an Echo Dot, so we've been listening to a lot of music lately, or random things that the girls just go up and say, Alexa, do this, and whatever, and we've had to have lots of talks about, girls, it's not okay for you to ask that because weird things come up, so we're trying to teach them that. And then we also had Elena. My husband changed the wake name on Alexa to computer. So that was really fun because for some reason we say computer a lot in this house. And so Alexa just kept turning. Sorry. I just had There was a child up out of bed that wasn't supposed to be. And she got tripped by the corgi. And then she just screamed because she got embarrassed. Get in bed. Kennel up. Kennel up, Darcy. So, anyway, lots of crazy around here. Anyway, so we've been listening to that. I have been doing a lot of podcasting. So, Christy Glass Knits is a new one that I've been watching. I also watch Skein Deer and Amy Florence. And she's the Stranded podcast. But then I found this adorable lady. She's Finnish, I believe. I can't say her name. But she is Fiber Tales on YouTube and also on Instagram. And she's just adorable. I love her personality. I love listening to her. She has created the most beautiful shawl pattern that is on my list to cast on this year. It's called the I saved it in here because I was like, I've got to make that. Where is it? Where did it go? It's called Hyldebeer, Hyldebeer, and that means elderberry in Finnish, I believe, or Dutch or whatever. I'm so bad at knowing what languages. Anyway, it's beautiful. So it's on my list to make this year. But she is about to pop with a baby. And so I was like, oh, I feel you, girl. I feel you. Like anytime I think she's going to have her baby. So I've been doing that. I have a Blueprint subscription. It used to be craftsy.com. Now it's Blueprint because I like to listen to other teachers and classes so that I can learn new techniques and learn how to better teach people and express things, because I don't know if you know, but I can ramble sometimes and I don't want to do that. So anyway, I love to do that. I the past couple days actually was listening to MJ Mucklestone. I think is how you say her name. I hope I'm not butchering it. Anyway, she was very sweet and a very good teacher. And so if I actually listened to a couple of her color work, classes. So if you are interested in, and this, I don't have any sponsorships or anything like that. I'm just telling you what I do. But if you are like me and you like to learn and you want to learn more things or take classes, Blueprint is great. You can get a subscription, a monthly subscription, I think for like $15, or you can do it class by class. But her class was very, very, very good. And I didn't actually knit along with her. I just listened to it and it was great. On Netflix, I finished The Office. It's like my 5th or 6th time watching through The Office, and I just love The Office. And then John Krasinski, I think is that his real name? Jim, the guy who plays Jim on The Office. After I finished that, I started watching the Disney Channel documentary Born in China, and he was the narrator on that. And so the whole time I just kept thinking, it's Jim. And I just it's really weird to see him in any serious role because he was Jim. And I just started Blue Bloods with Tom Selleck and Mark Wahlberg's brothers in it. And I'm really impressed with that show. It's like a spin on SVU. Doesn't have the cool, catchy theme song though. The dun 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 dun. I need sleep. Anyway, but it's cool. I like they're a God-fearing, God-loving family. There's a lot of family values that are in that. Like they eat dinner together every Sunday evening around the table, and I'm very impressed with it. And of course, I always love Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck, yeah. And then the most exciting thing ever, I have been trying since the very first episode I watched Downton. I decided, well, it's time for me to watch Downton again because I typically do it about every baby. I go through a cycle where I watch The Office and I watch Downton Abbey. And I got Wes to watch Downton Abbey with me, and he is addicted. I sucked him in. He loves it. He loves Downton Abbey. So actually, when I'm finished with this, we're going to put the kids to bed, and then we're going to watch some more Downton Abbey because it's just wonderful. And so that's really exciting to me because he thinks that I choose horrible, horrible shows, and I don't. They're just not superhero movies or cartoons, which is what he chooses to watch with the kids. So anyway, yeah. I already showed you. So let's move on to additions. Sorry. Or new to me, new things that are happening. And I have stuff that's supposed to be coming in the mail, but I already showed you my Vogue knitting dictionary. My husband bought me a subscription to the Vogue knitting magazine. And that was supposed to be my Christmas gift, but the first issue, the spring issue, doesn't come out till April. So it'll be like a birthday gift when that comes. And I got my On the Round yarn that I showed you that was in my little Anthology Darkwater hat in that pattern. My new hedgehog fiber needles came in. They came in this little case. And I had originally seen them talk about this on the Grocery Girls. Jody had gotten some, and I just thought, oh, I really, new needles that are great. And so I started looking around and shopping and watching reviews on other things, and I wasn't even going to consider these. And then I saw these seconds. I really do like they come in sizes 2 through 11. So it's a very big case. But I'll say the same thing that Jody said. The needles don't have the size labels on them, and it didn't come with a needle gauge thing. The thing to find your needle size. So when I need to know what size needles I have, I've got to count 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, blah, blah. And so I ended up like 2 or 3 times having to go and find my needle gauge whenever I was making my hat yesterday, because I had to switch out needles for the ribbing size and then for the colorwork size and everything like that. And I got my needles mixed up. But it does come with a pretty standard, cable comparable to Knit Picks cables and things like that. And then it comes with this super floppy cable, which this is what I used to make my hat. I did a version of the magic loop, but not quite the magic loop. Something I was playing around with, and maybe I'll show as I continue to improve upon that. So anyway, I'm not going to say go out and buy these hedgehog fiber needles yet, because I don't haven't knit with them enough to give you a true review of them. I like them so far, but I am still using my Knit Picks needles. They're a great value, great starter set. I've got a wooden and a metal set. and I still go with there. I also have uh, the, where did it go? I splurged, and I've knit with Spun Right Round yarn before. I got it in a Kitterly kit, and when the Plumpy shawl came out, I can't think of her name, who, I think it's, let me look it up. Pregnancy brain is really kicking in, guys. This is a much longer podcast than by Andrea Mowry. Yeah, I thought it was Andrea Mowry. I'm an Andrea Mowry fan. Anyway, she came out with her Plumpy shawl, and I thought, well, so I bought that shawl pattern because it was at she had a sale on it, and I was like, I'm gonna knit that in the new year. And then I saw on Instagram cost me so much money, that Spun Right Round had some shawl kits for it, and I thought, well, yes, I love their yarn. It's so beautiful. And so I looked at it, and I fell in love with this kit. And I haven't taken it out of the package yet. But I have 2 skeins of this Call Me Ale, and then this middle skein is Dingo, and this pink one is Cheeky, and then this last one is Belly Flop. So I will be maybe in February, hopefully in February, casting this on, getting my brioche knit on. Very excited about that, to have this yarn and ready to do that. It's a beautiful yarn. The shawl looks great. I got the DK squish size, the 5 skein. There's on the pattern you can make it with 4 skeins or 5 skeins, and I like bigger shawls, so I went 5 skeins. Excuse me. And let's see. Oh, I also got in today my first month of row 1 yarn kit. And this is something, again, I saw on the Grocery Girls. The Grocery Girls Knit is a wonderful podcast. I love Jody and Tracy, and I watch them a lot. But they had a coupon code, and I thought, well, I'll try this. So what row 1 yarn is once a month, you get this cute little bag, is what it came in today. And they are skeins by a new dyer, a new to me dyer. You never know who she's going to pick. Lots of beautiful little colors in there. And so my idea, these are like mini skeins that are already pre-wound and everything for you, samples of different colors of this dyer. The reason why I thought, oh, I'd like that is to make some scrappy socks or hats, or to use in my miter blanket that I'm using. Because I just haven't made a lot of socks or used a lot of sock yarn, so I don't have a lot of scraps to go in my miter blanket, so I thought I would do that. It came with a couple adorable little candies, and this, I don't know if you can see it. There's a glare. There we go. That stitch marker is like a little sweater on the needles. Isn't that adorable? There you go. You can see it better there, maybe. Anyway, and then let me look up this information here on. I had this all pulled out, and then I wrapped it back up today. So this is the Carnival of Color Club. 100 grams of matte sock from Lichen and Lace, Lichen and Lace. So it's 400 yards in 100 grams. It's 4-ply, 75 merino, 25 nylon, and it feels like cashmere. So I'm excited to knit with it, make a pair of scrappy socks maybe for myself. It tells you a little bit about the dyer and the yarn, and then there are 10 little skeins, 10 mini skeins of 10 grams of yarn. So I have, and they list off the colorways for you and everything in there. So I have, some of them are ginger snap and evergreen and sugar plum and rosewood and amethyst. So these are going to be really, really pretty. Really fun to work with. Who knows? I might save it, save subscriptions and make a scrappy shawl or something like that. But my plan for right now is, once I get my little knitting corner set up, to find an adorable glass dish and put them in there until I find the perfect project for them. So there's that. And then, the last thing, the Becoming a Master Knitter program from the Knitters Guild Association. I said that I was going to start that at the beginning of the year, and I have submitted for it, paid for it, whatever. I got the email with the information today, and I started looking through it. And so far, it seems pretty cut and dry, just step-by-step information. I'm going to get a binder and start putting stuff together and start making my swatches. To me, reading through it, I know I'm going to learn and be challenged. And sorry, it's the baby. They do say in there that it's pretty common for your first submission to be sent back, and you're to look at it not as discouragement, but as constructive criticism, because they want to help you be the best knitter that you can be. So anyway, we will see how things go as I progress with that. I have a whole 12 months to do it. So I'm going to take it a little bit at a time. I'm actually going to sit down and print some things out and schedule it a little bit by little bit, so that I'm not rushing to do things, but I don't overwhelm myself and all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm starting that saga. Gonna become a master knitter. Woohoo! Other than that, guys, a lot of craziness here. I did get this new cart. So let me see if I can turn it and show you. That's all of our crazy coats and stuff. But this cart here, it's on wheels, and it's 3 things, and it's not very organized because it literally came in the mail today, and I put things on it. But I've had like a footstool and a table and a desk all by me in my little knitting corner in the living room, and it's been driving my husband crazy. And so he wanted to get me a little rolly thing to store things in. So I did some searching online and found good reviews, and I got this little card on Amazon, and it's metal, so I can just put my Portuguese knitting pins, just clip them right on there. But this will be really, really great because I can keep my whips on it. I can keep, whatever resources I'm using right here for right now, but I can roll it to wherever I'm working on it. So it won't be anything that's permanently here, or if we have company coming over and my husband wants to clean the living room, he doesn't have to hear me say, "Don't touch my knitting stuff," as he moves it. So yeah, this 2019 is going to be a great year. It's going to be very busy for me up until the baby comes. I have scheduled a lot of classes to teach at the yarnery because I want to really be established, and people, we kind of took December off for teaching because it's just so crazy for people. They can't fit into the schedule. But I'm really wanting to expand the classes that I'm teaching, my repertoire, and just make it available, because I know that it's not going to be super easy for me to teach super soon after I have the baby. So if you're in the Springfield area and you are wanting to take some classes, some knitting classes, we have a very good range of classes at the Village Yarnery. We also are always willing to add new classes, or if you can't fit a class into your schedule, we do teach private lessons there. I also teach private lessons in my home. You just have to deal with my children. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm really excited that I kept this under an hour. Sorry for the crazy. I'm going to try and get back to my ideal setting of recording and, putting things up on the screen for you guys to go back and look at and everything like that. But hit me up if there are any things that you're curious about as far as Portuguese knitting or anything like that. You can always message me on Ravelry or find me on Instagram. That information will be in the comment section below, or in the description box below. But let me know if there are any tutorial videos or anything like that that you would like me to show you. I would love to get some ideas on giveaways. I would love to do some giveaways. So if there are some things that you guys would just love to have, um, I would like to know so I can have some ideas for prizes for the knit alongs and things that we're going to do. So I can't wait to see where 2019 is going to take myself and my family. But also, I can't wait to see how many of you guys that I will get to know over this next year and just the relationships that we'll build. So thank you for spending this evening with me, guys, and I will see you next week. Bye.